Asset 1. The night. Some moments define your entire life. You don't choose them. They choose you. My name is Claire Bennett. I'm 42 years old. I work as a librarian at the Seattle Public Library downtown branch, specializing in rare book restoration. I have a 12-year-old daughter named Emma who plays violin. I drive a 10-year-old Honda Civic. I used to play piano every evening before bed, Chopin mostly, but I haven't touched the keys in months. I'm unremarkable in every way you can imagine. Except for one thing, I witnessed a murder, and I said nothing. My father was a Seattle police officer, Detective John Bennett. He died when I was 16, shot during a routine traffic stop that turned violent. I remember standing at his funeral, listening to the bagpipes, watching my mother's face crumble, and making a silent vow. I would never put myself in danger. Never be the hero. Never leave my own child without a parent. That vow kept me safe for 26 years. Until a Wednesday night in November when everything changed. It was the kind of Seattle evening where the rain doesn't fall so much as hang in the air like a cold curtain. I was working late at the library, inventory night in the basement archives, restoring a 1920s first edition of The Great Gatsby. The musty smell of old paper and binding glue, the silence broken only by the hum of fluorescent lights. I left around 10 p.m. The parking garage was nearly empty, my footsteps echoing off concrete walls. Level B2, the lowest level, where the lighting was worst, and my car was always alone because I arrived earliest. That's when I heard it. Voices. Angry. Male. I should have kept walking. Should have gotten in my car and driven away. But curiosity, that dangerous human trait, made me pause behind a concrete pillar. Two men. I couldn't see their faces clearly in the dim light, but I could see their postures. One tall, broad-shouldered, wearing an expensive dark coat. The other, shorter, nervous, hands gesturing frantically. "You can't do this," the shorter man said, his voice cracking with desperation. "I have a family, kids. My daughter's starting college next year." "Should have thought of that before you threatened me," the taller man replied. His voice was calm, cold, the kind of calm that's more terrifying than rage. "I didn't threaten you. I gave you a chance to make it right. The money you've been laundering, it's not just unethical. It's going to collapse your whole company. When the SEC finds out, they won't find out because you're not going to tell them, Marcus. I already sent the files to a lawyer. If anything happens to me, your lawyer will receive a very generous offer to forget those files. Everyone has a price, Marcus, including you. That's why you're in this mess." My heart was pounding so hard I thought they'd hear it. Marcus. The shorter man's name was Marcus. Marcus dropped to his knees. "Please, please, my daughter needs—" The gunshot was quieter than in movies. A muffled pop, like a book dropped on a carpeted floor. Marcus fell forward, his body hitting the concrete with a sickening thud. I pressed my hand over my mouth to stop the scream. My phone was in my purse. Call 911, call for help. Do something. But the tall man was pulling out his phone, speaking calmly. "It's done. Parking garage, level B2. Send the cleaner." He walked toward the exit, his footsteps measured and unhurried. As he passed under an overhead light, I saw his face clearly for just 1 second. Richard Ashford. I knew him. Everyone in Seattle knew him. Real estate developer, billionaire, philanthropist. His face was on magazine covers, billboards, charity galas. He'd just donated a new cancer treatment wing to Seattle General Hospital, the Ashford Pediatric Oncology Center. Last month, the mayor had given him a key to the city, and I had watched him murder a man in cold blood. I stayed frozen behind my pillar, watching Marcus's body leak darkness onto the gray concrete until I heard sirens in the distance. Then I got in my car, started the engine, and drove out of there without looking back. At home, I locked every door, checked every window, and stood in Emma's doorway watching her sleep. My daughter's peaceful face, the only thing keeping me tethered to reality. I didn't call the police, not that night, not the next morning, because my father had taught me something before he died. The system doesn't protect people who make waves. It protects people with power. And Richard Ashford had more power than I could imagine. The next day, the news reported Marcus Sullivan's death as a robbery gone wrong. Tragic incident in downtown parking garage. Police investigating. No witnesses. I went to work, restored books, smiled at patrons, came home, made dinner, helped Emma with her homework. Normal, everything normal. Except I couldn't sleep, couldn't eat. Kept seeing Marcus's face in every crowd, hearing that muffled gunshot every time a door closed. The piano in my living room gathered dust. "Mom, are you okay?" Emma asked one evening, her brown eyes worried behind her glasses. "You've been weird lately, and you haven't played piano in forever." "I'm fine, sweetheart, just tired. Work's been busy." But I wasn't fine. I was drowning in guilt and fear. Tell the police and become a target. Stay silent and let a murderer walk free. I chose silence, and for 2 months, I lived with that choice like a stone in my chest. Then one night, unable to sleep, I did something I shouldn't have. I searched online. Marcus Sullivan, Seattle. His obituary appeared. Marcus Sullivan, 47, beloved husband and father of 2. Survived by wife Patricia, daughter Riley, 16, and son Michael, 8. Memorial service held at... I stared at that daughter's name, Riley, 16 years old. Starting college next year, her father had said. The college she'd never attend now because her father was dead and I'd said nothing. I clicked further, found Riley's public Instagram. Photos of a serious-faced teenager with her father's eyes. Recent posts. Still looking for answers about Dad. Police say case is cold. I don't believe it. Someone knows something. She was searching, just like I would have searched if someone had killed my father and the police had given up. And I had the answers she needed. That realization kept me awake for 3 more nights. Until finally, at 3 a.m. on a Saturday, I made a decision that would change both our lives forever. I created a fake Instagram account, sent Riley a message. "I might know something about your father's death. If you want the truth, meet me at Seattle Public Library downtown branch, Tuesday at 4 p.m. 3rd floor study rooms. Come alone." I hit send before I could change my mind. Tuesday couldn't come fast enough. And when it did, I wished I could take it all back. Act 2, The Connection. Riley Sullivan arrived at exactly 4 p.m. I watched her from behind the circulation desk, backpack slung over one shoulder, her father's determined jaw, eyes scanning the library like she expected a trap. I approached carefully. "Riley?" She spun around, defensive. "Who are you? Are you the one who messaged me?" "Yes, I'm Claire. Can we talk somewhere private?" We sat in a study room on the 3rd floor, surrounded by glass walls but isolated enough. Riley stared at me with a mix of hope and suspicion. "Who are you? How did you know my dad?" "I didn't know him, but I was there the night he died." I saw what happened. Her face went pale. "What do you mean you were there?" This was it. The moment. I could still walk away. tell her I was mistaken. Instead, I told her everything. She listened without interrupting, her face cycling through disbelief, horror, rage, and finally determination. "You saw Richard Ashford kill my dad, and you didn't go to the police?" The accusation in her voice cut deeper than any knife. I was scared. I still am. I have a daughter, Emma. She's 12. If I come forward, if I testify, Ashford could come after her. After me. "So you were just going to let him get away with it? Let my mom think Dad died in some random mugging?" I know how it sounds. Do you? Riley stood up, her hands shaking. "My mom had a breakdown. My little brother won't talk anymore. We're going to lose our house because Dad's life insurance won't pay out for crime-related death." "And you knew who did it this whole time?" Tears burned my eyes. "What would you have done if you were in my position?" Riley looked at me for a long moment. "I would have been brave enough to do the right thing, like my dad was." She started to leave. I grabbed her arm. "Wait, please. I want to help now. I know I should have come forward sooner, but I'm here now. Let's find out why Ashford killed your father. If we can build a case, real evidence beyond just my testimony, maybe we have a chance." Why the sudden change of heart? I thought about my father, about the bagpipes at his funeral, about Emma growing up knowing her mother had chosen cowardice. "Because I can't live with myself anymore, and because you deserve the truth." Riley studied me. "What do you want me to do?" "Your father worked for Ashford Development, right? As an accountant?" "Senior financial manager, 20 years with the company." "Did he keep files at home, work documents?" "Mom boxed everything up after he died. She couldn't look at it." "Can you get those boxes?" "Why?" "Because your father said something before Ashford shot him. He said he'd sent files to a lawyer. Files about money laundering. If we can find copies of those files, we might have evidence." Riley's eyes lit up. "There were USB drives in his desk. Mom said the police looked at them but found nothing relevant." "The police weren't looking for what we're looking for. Can you bring them here tomorrow?" She hesitated, then nodded. "Okay, but if you're lying to me, if this is some kind of trick—" "It's not, I promise." The next day, Riley brought 3 USB drives. We spent hours in the library's computer lab, going through spreadsheets, emails, PDFs. Most of it was incomprehensible financial jargon, until we found a folder labeled Insurance. Inside were files documenting shell companies, offshore accounts, money transfers, and a memo Marcus had written to himself. Ashford using investor funds to pay for daughter's experimental treatment in Switzerland. Total diverted, $4.2 million if discovered, will destroy company. Must document everything before going to authorities. I stared at the screen. He has a daughter. Ashford has a daughter who's sick. Riley read over my shoulder. So he was stealing to pay for her treatment? Not stealing from the company. Stealing from investors. People who trusted him with their money. That doesn't make it better. No, but it explains why he killed your father. Marcus found out and was going to expose him. That would have ended the treatment funding. Riley's hands balled into fists. So my dad died so Ashford's daughter could live? That's the trade? I don't think Ashford saw it as a trade. I think he saw it as survival, his daughter's survival. I don't care about his reasons, Riley shouted, then lowered her voice as other patrons looked. Sorry, this doesn't change anything. He still killed my dad. You're right, but if we're going to take him down, we need to understand him. We need everything on these drives organized into a timeline. And we need to find out if there were other victims. We worked for 2 weeks. Riley came to the library every day after school. I taught her how to research like a librarian, how to find information hidden in public records, obituaries, business filings. And we discovered something chilling. 3 other accountants who'd worked for Ashford Development over the past 8 years. All dead, all in accidents or robberies. "He's done this before," Riley whispered. "Multiple times. We need someone from inside the company. Someone who might have seen something." Riley thought for a moment. "Anna Park, she was Dad's assistant. She came to the funeral, said if we ever needed anything. Can you reach her?" "I'll try, but Claire? What if she says no? What if we can't find anyone willing to help?" I thought about that. About how hard it would be to get justice for Marcus when everyone was too scared to speak. "Then we find another way. We don't give up." But inside, I was terrified that's exactly what we'd have to do. Give up and watch a murderer walk free. Until Anna Park said yes. Act 3, the evidence meeting. Anna Park was harder than I expected. She refused to meet anywhere near downtown. "Too many of Ashford's people," she said. "Too much surveillance." We finally agreed on a coffee shop in Tacoma, an hour south of Seattle. Riley and I drove down on a Saturday morning, the rain hammering the windshield. Anna was already there when we arrived, 30s, nervous, looking over her shoulder every few minutes. She looked like she hadn't slept in months. "Riley told me you're looking into Marcus's death," she said quietly after we sat down. "Why?" "Because we know it wasn't a random robbery," I said. "And we think you know that too." Anna's hands trembled around her coffee cup. "If I tell you what I know, I'm dead. Ashford has people everywhere, security, private investigators. He knows things he shouldn't know. It's like he can see everything." "We're building a case against him," Riley said. "But we need inside information. Please, Anna, help us get justice for my dad." Anna was quiet for a long time, then. "Marcus came to me 3 days before he died. He was terrified, said he'd discovered Ashford was embezzling from investors and that when he confronted Ashford about it, Ashford threatened him. Marcus wanted me to keep copies of everything, just in case." My heart pounded. "Did you?" "I made copies, but I was too scared to do anything with them. After Marcus died, I tried to pretend they didn't exist." "We need those copies." "It's not that simple. They're encrypted. Marcus set up the encryption and never told me the password. I've been trying to crack it for months." "Do you know anyone who could help?" Anna hesitated. "There's someone, a tech guy Marcus used sometimes for IT security. Goes by the name Cypher. Works under the table, no questions asked. But he's expensive." "How expensive?" $5,000. I felt my stomach drop. I didn't have $5,000. My savings were already depleted from single parenting and paying for Emma's violin lessons and braces. Riley looked crushed. "I don't have that kind of money. We're barely keeping the house." I thought about my grandmother's ring, the one piece of jewelry I'd inherited, worth maybe $8,000. Emma's college fund. But what good was a college fund if Justice died? "I can get the money," I said. "Give me a week." Selling my grandmother's ring felt like betraying my family's history. But keeping silent about a murder felt worse. A week later, we met Cypher in a parking lot in West Seattle. He was younger than I expected, early 20s, multiple piercings, laptop covered in stickers. $5,000 for decryption, he said, no preamble. I handed him an envelope of cash. He handed me a receipt. Come back in 48 hours. Those 48 hours were the longest of my life. What if he took the money and disappeared? What if the encrypted files were corrupted? What if we'd spent everything for nothing? But when we returned, Cypher had succeeded. Your friend was thorough, he said, handing Anna back her drive. These files could take down a small country, let alone one businessman. We went back to the library, to a private study room, and opened the files. Years of financial records, emails, recorded phone conversations. Transaction logs showing exactly how Ashford had been siphoning money from investor accounts into an offshore account, then from there to a Swiss hospital treating his daughter. This is it, Anna whispered. This is everything. Now what? Riley asked. Do we go to the police? I'd been thinking about that. About walking into a police station with a teenage girl and an assistant, accusing one of Seattle's most prominent citizens. My father used to say the local police can be bought, but federal agents, FBI, they're harder to compromise. So we go to the FBI? Not yet. First, we need to understand something. How did Ashford know about Marcus? How did he know Marcus was planning to go to authorities? Anna's face went pale. I don't know. Marcus was so careful. He didn't tell anyone except me and apparently his lawyer. His lawyer? Did the lawyer ever follow up after Marcus died? No, I always thought that was strange. Usually lawyers are aggressive about executing their clients' final wishes. But this one? Nothing. Radio silence. What was the lawyer's name? Anna pulled out her phone, scrolling through old contacts. Wilson, Richard Wilson, downtown firm. I wrote it down. I'm going to look into him. In the meantime, we make copies of everything. Multiple backups, hidden in different locations. If Ashford has people watching us, we can't risk losing this evidence. That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept thinking about how Ashford knew Marcus was planning to expose him, about the lawyer who never followed up, about Anna's comment. It's like he can see everything. The next morning, I did something risky. I called Richard Wilson's office, pretending to be a journalist, writing a story about Marcus Sullivan's legacy. The secretary was polite but firm. Mr. Wilson doesn't give interviews. And we don't discuss former clients. Former clients? But I thought Marcus Sullivan was a current client when he died? A pause. Mr. Wilson never represented Mr. Sullivan. I don't know where you got that information. She hung up. I stared at my phone. Marcus had told Ashford he'd sent files to a lawyer. But that lawyer claimed they'd never represented him. Either Marcus lied about sending the files, or the lawyer destroyed them and lied about ever receiving them, which meant someone had gotten to the lawyer before Marcus died. Someone who knew Marcus's plans. Someone close to the investigation. That's when I realized we couldn't trust anyone, not lawyers, not local police, maybe not even federal agents. We were on our own. And Richard Ashford was always one step ahead. Act 4, The Betrayal. We finally went to the FBI on a cold February morning. The field office was downtown, an imposing gray structure that looked like a fortress. At the security desk, I asked to speak with an agent about financial crimes and murder. The guard made a call. 20 minutes later, we were in a conference room with 2 agents. Agent Sarah Morrison and Agent James Chen. Morrison was mid-40s, sharp-suited, efficient. Chen was younger, maybe late 30s, with kind eyes that reminded me of my father. They listened as we laid out everything. The parking garage murder, the encrypted files, the pattern of dead accountants, the financial crimes. Agent Morrison's expression remained carefully neutral. "These are serious accusations against a very prominent citizen. We'll need to verify this evidence thoroughly." "We understand," I said. "But you need to move fast. Ashford is dangerous. People have died." Agent Chen leaned forward. "Ms. Bennett, I want to be clear. If you witnessed a murder 2 months ago and didn't report it, that's obstruction of justice. You could face charges." "I know. I'm willing to accept that if it means Ashford is stopped." He studied me for a moment, and I saw something shift in his expression. Respect, maybe, or understanding. "We'll need full statements from all 3 of you," Morrison said. "This could take hours." "We're not going anywhere." We stayed at the FBI building until dawn, giving detailed statements, walking them through every document on the drive. At 8 a.m., Morrison came back. "We've verified enough to move forward. We're getting a warrant for Richard Ashford's arrest, and we're placing all 3 of you in protective custody." Riley grabbed my hand. We did it. But I felt uneasy. Something about Morrison's expression. Too controlled. Too practiced. "When will you arrest him?" I asked. "Within 48 hours. We need to coordinate with the prosecutor's office, make sure everything is airtight." 48 hours. 2 days for Ashford to find out we'd come forward. 2 days for him to run, or worse. "Can't you move faster?" "Ms. Bennett, I understand your concern, but we have protocols. We can't just arrest a billionaire without dotting every I and crossing every T." Agent Chen drove us to a safe house in Redmond, a suburban home with generic furniture and too many locks. 2 agents would be stationed outside at all times, he explained. We were safe. "Thank you," I said as he was leaving. "For believing us." He smiled. "I have a daughter, 9 years old. If someone hurt her and a witness stayed silent out of fear, I'd understand. Courage isn't the absence of fear, Ms. Bennett. It's doing what's right, despite the fear." That night, I called Emma at my sister's house in Portland. "Hey, sweetheart, how's everything?" "Boring. When are you coming to get me?" "Soon, maybe a few more days." "Mom, what's really going on? Aunt Jess won't tell me anything, and there are weird cars outside." My blood went cold. "What kind of cars?" "Just cars, dark ones. They've been there since yesterday." "Emma, listen to me very carefully. Tell Aunt Jess to call 911 right now. Tell them you need police protection. Do it now." I hung up and ran to find Chen. He was in the kitchen with Morrison, discussing something in low voices. They stopped abruptly when I entered. "My daughter, there are cars watching my sister's house in Portland. You said she'd be protected." "We have agents in Portland," Morrison said calmly. "I'm sure it's nothing, but I'll call and check." She pulled out her phone and walked into another room. I turned to Chen. "How does Ashford keep knowing things?" "First, he knew about our investigation before we came to you. Now there are cars watching Emma?" "I don't know," Chen admitted. "But we'll figure it out. Your daughter is safe." Morrison returned, her expression unreadable. "Portland team confirms they've been watching the house. No suspicious vehicles reported. Might have been a neighbor or delivery." But I didn't believe her. Something was wrong. Over the next 3 days, we waited in that safe house. Riley paced constantly. Anna barely ate. I tried to stay calm for them, but inside, I was screaming. On the 4th day, I was watching the news when a breaking story appeared. Seattle businessman Richard Ashford hospitalized after apparent heart attack. "Turn that up," I shouted. Ashford, 54, was rushed to Seattle General Hospital this morning. His condition is currently stable. In a statement, his attorney said Ashford has been under tremendous stress due to false accusations made by a mentally unstable librarian and a vengeful teenager seeking insurance money. The room spun. They were spinning the narrative, making us look like liars. Morrison came in. "I know this looks bad, but bad! He's in the hospital instead of in custody. How is this possible? The warrant was delayed, some procedural issues, but we'll arrest him as soon as he's medically cleared." Procedural issues, or did someone warn him? Morrison's face hardened. "What are you implying, Ms. Bennett?" "I'm implying that somehow, every time we make a move, Ashford knows about it." Chen appeared in the doorway. "Sarah, we need to talk, now." They left. I turned to Riley and Anna. "Something's wrong. This doesn't feel right." That night, I couldn't sleep. I kept replaying everything. Morrison's too calm demeanor, the delayed warrant, Ashford conveniently having a heart attack before arrest. At 2 a.m., I got up to get water, passed by the den where Morrison was on a phone call, voice low. "Can't hold them much longer. They're getting suspicious." "I told you, the evidence is solid. We need to move now before they figure out—" "No, Chen doesn't know anything. Yes, I'll handle it." My blood turned to ice. I backed away slowly, retreating to my room. Locked the door. Mind racing. Morrison. Agent Sarah Morrison. She was the leak. She was working for Ashford. That's how he always knew. That's how the warrant got delayed. That's why we were stuck in this safe house instead of watching Ashford get arrested. We weren't in protective custody. We were in a cage, and Morrison was deciding when to eliminate us. I had to get us out, tonight, before it was too late. But how do you escape from FBI agents when you don't know who to trust? Act 5, The Escape. I woke Riley and Anna quietly, finger to my lips, whispered, "Get dressed, we're leaving, now." "What? Why?" Riley hissed. "Morrison is working for Ashford. We're not safe here." Anna's eyes went wide with terror. Oh God, I knew this would happen." "Stay calm. Get your things. Meet in the kitchen in 5 minutes." I moved quickly, packing the essentials. The USB drives with the evidence, multiple copies hidden in different bags. My phone, Emma's photo. In the kitchen, I found Morrison's laptop open on the counter. She was outside talking to the guards. I had maybe 2 minutes. I opened her email, searching frantically. Found a thread with an unknown address. Updates on Bennett investigation. Scrolled through. My stomach turned. Subjects secure in Redmond location. Will maintain until after heart attack story establishes emotional instability narrative. Then recommend transfer to psychiatric evaluation facility for 72-hour hold, giving us time to handle evidence. Psychiatric facility. They were going to lock us up in a mental hospital, claim we were delusional, and make the evidence disappear. I took photos of the emails with my phone. Then I saw something that made my blood run cold. An attachment. Portland asset deployment. I opened it. A contract for private security to monitor and neutralize, if necessary, my sister's house in Portland. Emma. They had people watching Emma, and neutralize if necessary didn't mean protect. I grabbed Riley and Anna. "We have to go, right now." "But the guards—" "There's a window in the basement, small, but we can fit. Move." We crept downstairs. The basement window was tiny, barely big enough for a person, but it opened onto a dark backyard. "Riley first," I whispered. "Then Anna. I'll follow." Riley squeezed through, dropped to the grass outside. Anna followed, whimpering. I was halfway through when I heard footsteps above. Morrison's voice. "Where the hell are they?" I dropped to the ground, scraping my arms on the window frame. "Run!" We ran through backyards, leaping fences, dogs barking in our wake. My lungs burned. Behind us, shouts. Flashlights. We reached a commercial street. I flagged down a taxi, 3 terrified women piling into the back. "Where to?" the driver asked, concerned. "Just drive. I'll tell you in a minute." I pulled out my phone with shaking hands, called the one person I thought might help. Agent James Chen. He answered on the second ring. "Ms. Bennett, where are you? Morrison said you disappeared." "Morrison is dirty. She's working for Ashford. She was going to lock us up in a psychiatric hospital while evidence disappeared." Silence, then. "Are you sure?" I saw emails on her laptop, photos on my phone. "Chen, I don't know who to trust, but my daughter is in danger. Ashford has people watching her in Portland. Can you help or not?" Another pause. "Where are you?" I took a gamble, told him. "Stay there, I'm coming alone, 20 minutes. I hung up. Riley looked at me. "What if he's working with Morrison?" "Then we're dead anyway, but I don't think he is. Call it intuition." 23 minutes later, Chen pulled up in an unmarked car. Alone. He got out slowly, hands visible. "I'm not armed, I'm not recording. Just talk to me." I showed him the photos. Watched his face cycle through shock, anger, betrayal. "Sarah Morrison. Jesus. She's been at the Bureau for 15 years. I trusted her. Ashford has reach everywhere. That's what we've been trying to tell you. Show me everything. All the evidence. Everything Morrison has." We got in his car and drove to the library, neutral ground, familiar territory. At 4 a.m., the building was closed, but I had keys for the rare books restoration room in the basement. We spread everything out. Chen went through it methodically, making notes, asking questions. "This is solid," he finally said. "We can take down Ashford and Morrison both. But we need to move fast. If Morrison knows you escaped, she'll be destroying evidence, warning Ashford." "What do we do?" "We go over her head, straight to the U.S. Attorney's office, present everything at once, Ashford's crimes and Morrison's corruption. Make it so big they can't bury it." "When?" "Now, but first, your daughter. Let me call Portland PD directly, people I trust from academy training. We'll get Emma and your sister into real protective custody." He made calls. Within an hour, Portland police had Emma and my sister in a safe location, with Chen's trusted contacts guarding them. At 6 a.m., we walked into the U.S. Attorney's office with boxes of evidence. Assistant U.S. Attorney Catherine Wells listened to our story, examined the documents, read the emails. "Agent Morrison is dirty?" "Yes," Chen said, "and we need to move fast." Wells made a decision. "We arrest Ashford and Morrison simultaneously. This morning. No leaks, no warnings. Chen, you coordinate with agents you trust. Ms. Bennett, you'll need to give a full statement." By noon, it was done. Richard Ashford, arrested at Seattle General Hospital, charged with murder, embezzlement, obstruction of justice. Agent Sarah Morrison, arrested at the FBI field office, charged with corruption, obstruction, conspiracy. The news exploded. FBI agent arrested in corruption scandal. Billionaire charged with murder. Librarian exposes massive cover-up. We stood outside the courthouse, Riley, Anna, Chen, and me, surrounded by press. "Ms. Bennett, how do you feel?" "Vindicated, terrified, relieved, all at once." "Do you regret waiting 2 months?" Every single day. But I hope what I did finally makes a difference. Riley squeezed my hand. Thank you for not giving up. But I knew it wasn't over. The trial would take months. Morrison's lawyer was already claiming entrapment. Ashford's lawyers were building an insanity defense. This was just the beginning of a long, painful fight. But for the first time in months, I could breathe. Act 6, the cost. The trial took 9 months. 9 months of testimony, cross-examination, media scrutiny, death threats. Morrison pled guilty to corruption charges in exchange for testifying against Ashford. She detailed how he'd approached her 3 years ago, offering money to tip him off about any investigations into his business. At first, it was small things. Then, it escalated to actively sabotaging cases. He said his daughter would die without the treatment, Morrison testified, tears streaming. He showed me photos of her, this beautiful little girl, bald from chemo, smiling anyway. And I thought, if it were my child, wouldn't I do anything too? I watched from the witness stand, feeling a complicated mix of anger and pity. Ashford's defense tried to paint him as a desperate father, making impossible choices. They showed photos of his daughter, Emma Grace. Yes, Emma, the same name as my daughter, at 9 years old, fighting leukemia. Videos of her laughing, playing, living because of the treatment her father had stolen money to provide. The jury cried. So did I. But then the prosecution showed photos of Marcus Sullivan's children, of the other murdered accountants' families, of the investors who'd lost everything. In the end, Ashford was convicted. Murder, fraud, conspiracy, life without parole. But the victory felt hollow. I testified for 6 hours about what I'd seen in that parking garage. Ashford's lawyers shredded me on cross-examination. Ms. Bennett, you waited 2 months to come forward. Why? I was scared. Scared? Or fabricating a story to explain why you were in that parking garage at 10 p.m.? Isn't it true you were there meeting someone? Having an affair? No. Isn't it true you've been taking anti-anxiety medication? Seeing a therapist for paranoid delusions? Objection. But the damage was done. Half the internet thought I was a hero. The other half thought I was an unstable attention seeker who destroyed an innocent man trying to save his daughter. I lost my job. Not officially, they cited downsizing, but everyone knew. The library didn't want the controversy. Emma was bullied at school, kids calling her murderer's daughter, because I'd helped convict Ashford. We had to move to a different district, then a different city. Riley did go to college, but her relationship with her mother never recovered. Patricia blamed Riley for pursuing the case, for not letting Marcus rest in peace. Anna moved back to Korea. The guilt over her sister's death never left her. She sent an email once. I did the right thing, so why does it feel like I lost everything? I understood that feeling. Agent Chen stayed in touch, visited sometimes, checking on Emma and me. There was something between us, something that could have become more. But trauma doesn't leave room for romance, just survival. 2 years after the trial, I found work at a small library in Olympia. Quieter, smaller, no one knew my name there. One evening I was locking up when a man approached, young, nervous. Ms. Bennett, I'm sorry to bother you, but I saw your story and I witnessed something bad, and I don't know what to do. I looked at him seeing myself 3 years ago, scared, conflicted. Tell me what happened, I said. We sat on a bench outside, and he told his story. Corporate fraud, threats, fear. When he finished, I said, only you can decide what to do, but I'll tell you what I learned. Staying silent has a cost. Speaking up has a cost. You choose which cost you can live with. What cost can you live with? He asked. I thought about Emma, about the therapy sessions we'd both needed, about the friends I'd lost, the career that ended, the piano I still couldn't play without remembering. But I also thought about Marcus Sullivan's family getting closure, about the other families learning their loved ones' deaths weren't random, about Ashford in prison, unable to hurt anyone else. The cost of doing what I know is right, I said finally. Because looking in the mirror is harder when you know you chose silence. He nodded slowly. Will you help me? And despite everything, despite the trauma and loss and fear, I said yes. Because I'd learned something over those 3 years. Courage isn't something you find once and keep forever. It's something you choose again and again, even when it costs you everything. Later that night, I drove home to our small apartment. Emma was practicing violin, Vivaldi, her favorite. The sound filled the space, beautiful and sad. I sat at the piano, hadn't touched it in 3 years. My fingers found the keys, rusty, uncertain. Started playing Chopin's Nocturne in E-flat major, the piece my father used to play. Emma stopped her violin, came to sit beside me on the bench. I thought you'd never play again, she said softly. So did I. Why now? I thought about that, about all the reasons to stay silent, stay safe, stay small, and all the reasons to speak, to fight, to be heard. Because I remembered something your grandfather used to say. Silence is safe, but safety isn't the same as being alive. Emma leaned her head on my shoulder. I'm proud of you, Mom, even though it was scary, even though people were mean. You did the right thing. You think so? I know so. Because of you, bad people went to prison. Because of you, Riley got answers about her dad. Because of you, I learned that doing the right thing matters more than doing the easy thing. I kissed her forehead, my daughter who'd grown up too fast, who'd paid for my choices but understood them anyway. We played together then, piano and violin, mother and daughter, 2 people learning to make music again after long silence. And I realized this was the victory, not the trial verdict or the news headlines or the vindication. But this moment, this connection, this proof that speaking up, despite everything it cost, had taught my daughter the most important lesson I could give her. Some things are worth the price you pay. Some voices are worth the fear of using them. I'd been the silent witness, but I'd found my voice. And it had changed everything.